There is a new name to watch in the Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback competition that may not be talked about yet, but it's time to bring some light to a guy who is in his second year in Pittsburgh and is making some plays. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackmine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk or subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, we are talking about a sleeper within the Steelers cornerback competition that I think has a real shot to win the slot/nickelback job. Let me take you inside an interview between All Steelers Talk and this player.
First, were you coming off the edge today?
Yeah, I was having some fun in that nickel blitz.
Is that something that's kind of new to you on this defense? I don't know if you played it like in New York or wherever else, but
Yeah,
when you're here.
so here, blitzing off the edges, it's new for me in this system per se.
Yeah.
But back in college and stuff, I was big off the edge blitz. I pride myself on it. I think blitzing is something I do well. And it's great being here in the system where we do get the opportunity to blitz off the edge often as a nickel.
Is that a role that they kind of see you transition into? Is a little bit of like a versatile safety nickel role this season?
Yeah, so nickel has been my priority this offseason. Obviously, I want to know all the positions in the secondary, be a utility guy whenever they need me. But it's something I've been honing in on, detailing, and really taking the time to try to step into a role that hopefully they expect me to take on.
Yeah. You feel like you got like a real opportunity here to like be a part of this defense?
Yeah, we got some good guys in the position. We got Sully, we got Duke, two really good ball players, and it's nice being able to iron sharpen iron with them. You know what I mean? Get to compete with them and take away from what they're doing, try to apply it to my skill set, and see what works for me.
And then, last one for you. You were here last year, obviously, but you came in mid-season. How much more comfortable do you feel like in the scheme?
It's nice, being able to detail things a little better.
Yeah.
Being able to ask questions that you really can't ask in season.
Yeah.
And doing the best I can to learn everything within the system and detail things the best of my ability.
For those of you who don't recognize the voice, and I know that is probably many, that is Elijah Riley, former New York Jet, Philadelphia Eagle, Army college grad, safety, corner, nickel, versatile piece to any defense, who signed halfway through the season last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers off the New York Jets practice squad. He played in 4 games for the Steelers, didn't really do much. He played 20 snaps on defense. He recorded just 5 tackles. This season, he comes in with a whole new perspective. Last year, we fully believed that this guy was a safety. And coming into the offseason, the only competition that this guy could have is to outlast Trey Norwood, Miles Killebrew, etc. There was no chance he was going to beat out Keanu Neal. There was no chance he was going to beat out DeMonte KZ. And obviously, Minkah Fitzpatrick does not have a position competition his entire time in Pittsburgh and never will. So you thought, chances of this guy making the roster, very slim. Wasn't going to happen. Now you look at it and you think the Pittsburgh Steelers have a slot cornerback competition between Duke Dawson, Chandon Sullivan, and now Elijah Riley. And you think none of them have the means to have a strong upper hand over the others. I guess Chandon Sullivan would be the favorite right now, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to view all 3 of them equally and give all 3 of them equal competition. Omar Khan does not mention the name Duke Dawson in a random interview if he doesn't believe that Duke Dawson is really in this competition. Last year, it was Mitch Trubisky's our guy. Mitch Trubisky's our guy. Mitch Trubisky's our guy at quarterback. You knew all along that this was a fake quarterback competition. This year, it is not a fake cornerback competition, and the Steelers really want to find the true and best slot option that they have on the roster. And right now, it's Elijah Riley. The dude's been making plays. He's been a sleeper. I don't know, for those of you who don't follow Nick Fairbaugh or Steelers Now, they have raved about this guy, and I have been quietly watching and quietly observing at practice and watching him make plays, and then I finally had to bring it to his attention. What's going on? It doesn't look like you're playing safety. It looks like you're playing corner. It looks like you're playing slot and nickel and coming off the edge and making some plays. And he was all excited, all smiles. I know you can't see it in the interview, but he was all smiles talking about how that is his position and how he feels natural there and how he could learn there. And I believe that gives him an upper hand, because coming in last season and learning the playbook from safety means that you already know this defense. Now you come in there this year and you move to nickel. It's a whole other position. I get it. It's a very difficult position to learn. You basically playing linebacker and corner at the same time, but you've already played safety, which means that you know every position on this field. This year, you have to fine tune it and you have to ask all the important questions to make sure that you just fully understand everything that's happening around you. The Steelers slot cornerback competition right now is, in my opinion, not great. I don't think it's a downgrade from Arthur Millette because I don't think Arthur Millette was that great in coverage, and I think he left a lot of liability on the field. But I did look at it and say Patrick Peterson is probably the best option, but he's not a great option because he's 33 years old. At this point, he's definitely slowing down. It's hard to say that he'd compete with some of these faster guys. I mean, he's talking about getting burned by Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin type players are going to play in the slot against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they know how to take advantage of those. You play against the Cincinnati Bengals, and they will line up Jamar Chase in the slot if they know Patrick Peterson's there and he's able to outrun him. They're not afraid of that. Last year, they took full advantage of Arthur Millette by putting T. Higgins in the slot and absolutely destroying him with no help whatsoever. This year, they have the possibility of doing that again. And in the AFC North, it is just getting more difficult. You don't want to face Amari Cooper in the slot. You don't want to face Odell Beckham Jr. in the slot if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers because you don't have the means to defend them. And that's no disrespect to Patrick Peterson. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a future. He is a great. He's considerably one of the GOATs. He's up there in the all-time list. Undeniable. And when he came to Pittsburgh, even if he is 32, 33 years old and pushing the end of his career, he's still a name that you got to watch out for on a weekly basis, no matter what. He is a player that makes your team better. But the Steelers need more options because at 32, 33 years old at corner, you could not go out there every single snap and anticipate that player giving you positive reps. It's just not going to happen. So the Steelers need another option. And I think right now, those options are dimmed down to 3. And I think Elijah Riley is winning that race. It's early. There are no pads on. At this point in the offseason, you're just kind of guessing and making a lot out of a little bit. But I could say this, that Elijah Riley always struck me as a guy who can make plays. He always struck me as a guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers enjoyed. There was a reason that they brought him onto the active roster at the end of last season instead of just letting him go. They've let other guys go. Josh Jackson was in that same boat. It was either get rid of him or move him to the active roster, and the Steelers decided to just get rid of him. They've done it in the past, and they'll do it again. But Elijah Riley's a guy that they saw was smart. They wanted to bring him on. He's got a little bit of experience in the NFL. I mean, this guy hasn't really done a whole ton. He's played 17 games over 3 teams for 3 different positions or at 3 different positions. And at this point, you're just wondering, where is he going to stick? Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers are just looking for a very smart, very driven individual on the inside, somebody that could learn from Patrick Peterson, somebody that could learn the defense as a whole and kind of fill that role. And I think that Elijah Riley could very much so be that guy. He's 25 years old. He's still got a whole career ahead of him. The Steelers love those sleepers, and I think he's a big one. Chandon Sullivan is still going to remain the favorite, and he's still going to remain the name that everybody talks about, and Duke Dawson's going to get his reps, and I've talked to Duke Dawson, and he's very excited for the opportunity as well. But Elijah Riley is a name that won't get a ton of attention. He won't get a ton of headlines. And there really will only be a couple people who are at practice, who are observing and watching and speaking to these players who recognize how good this guy is on the field right now. And I don't know if it's going to carry over into training camp. I don't know what's going to happen. But there's a reason that he's stuck around. There's a reason that the Steelers wanted him to stick around. And if you look at it right now, you got to anticipate that he's at least in the running. And I'm going to say he's a sleeper to win this job. I know it's early. We got a whole summer ahead of us. Chandon Sullivan, again, he's got to lose it. But I think if anybody's going to win it, I think it's going to be Elijah Riley. It's a name to watch. He's a sleeper to emerge in this cornerback competition. He's a guy that I feel very good about, and a guy that I would very much so enjoy watching succeed in Pittsburgh, because if you didn't get it from that interview, he just seems like a great dude. Haven't talked to him a whole ton, but I will say this. He remembered my name, and I only introduced myself to him once last season. Said, "Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Pittsburgh. I'm Noah Strackbine." And when I went up and shook his hand to interview him here, he said, "What's up, Noah?" That's somebody that I will remember. That's somebody that I will root for. Those are the guys that seem to latch on to positions and make an impact in the NFL from what I've learned in my short time covering this team. Elijah Riley seems like a name to watch. And if you're interested in the slot cornerback competition and you are looking for another Mike Hilton or another Cam Sutton or another playmaker that you could feel real good about, I think he's the name that you start paying attention to.